I want to do a review on the Blackmagic production camera. This is the 4K production camera. I bought it back in 2013. I haven't done a review yet, and who knows when I'll release this. Anyway, so I bought this back in 2013. I actually ordered it at NAB. I was super stoked for this camera. I used the cinema camera, the 2.5K before, loved it. I actually had a red before, and the problem with the red was it only shoots well, at the time it only shot the R3Ds. So I had a red Scarlet, and I wanted to well, it was an upgrade slash downgrade. I'll get into it a little bit. Basically, the color space of this I like better. There's some massive issues with it that I'll get into. The red, it shot R3Ds. Also, if you wanted to shoot 1080, it did a crop sensor, which was really annoying. So I went with this because it did the ProRes HD, ProRes 4K, and the RAW. So it kind of gave me a little bit of everything. Plus I like the color space better, and it was super cheap. So I sold my red for like 13 grand or something like that, and then bought this, and I was able to buy this plus some lenses, plus the rig, plus the batteries. Like everything was just so much better. It was great, and it was basically the same price. So things I love about this camera, I love the global shutter, amazing. The 4K is super crisp, gorgeous. The color space is awesome. Again, it's all personal preference. I've had multiple conversations with some of the other DPs, and they hate the color space of Blackmagic, and they love it for red or whatever, or the Sony FS7 or whatever else they're shooting on, or the Canon. Some people love the Canon C300 color space, or yeah. Anyway, it's just personal preference. For me, I love this color space. A few things about the camera that I don't like is it's not really easy to use the camera without a rig, and it's kind of annoying to use the camera without a rig. Also, retrofitting a rig to the camera is also kind of annoying. This is the best rig I've come up with. I have another video about the rig that I will come out with shortly. This, however, so you need a top handle. That's one thing that I would say is a must for this camera. Also, an external monitor. This monitor down here is super annoying. Gets in the way a lot. Like battery, if you put the battery up close, it's hard to get to the menus and stuff. Also, it's terrible as far as getting scopes or anything else like that. One thing that Blackmagic changed from when I first got the camera till now is you used to just be able to click to the menu and you go to one menu. It was super simple. You had just the basic controls, ISO, your shutter, color balance, whatever. But now it's a double click to get. You have to, I think if you click and hold, yeah, if you click and hold, it takes you to the main menu now. So it's another step that I don't like having. Oh, black sunspot. The worst thing about this camera is the black sunspot. Freaking hate it. Purple sunspot of death, or black sunspot, whatever you want to call it. It's super annoying. I see it sometimes even with HMIs. When I'm shooting with HMIs, I've seen it. I just hate it. Now, as far as the 12 stops of dynamic range, it's awesome. I would still highly recommend, well, I think everybody would highly recommend properly exposing what you want to expose. So whether you're trying to expose for outside the window or inside the window, whatever, just properly expose that piece, and then the 12 stops is what gives you kind of that extra oomph, which is really nice. One thing that I like that Blackmagic has done is being able to format in camera. When the camera first came out, you weren't able to do that. They've now made it able to do that. I do love the peak control on this. Being able to put peaking on, it actually will show up in your monitor as well as you do the peaking. Super nice. Love that function. One thing to note with this camera is it is horrible in low light. It gives you really nasty noise if you're shooting in low light and you try and bring it up in post in DaVinci or something and try and bring up some of that, the shadow detail. It does terrible. It doesn't, I mean, basically I would consider this camera a studio camera. It's not a super great run and gun camera because it's just, you have to build a rig around it to get anything to work well. One thing you can do is attach, they have the, I can't remember the name of the battery, but it attaches to the bottom. So you can kind of take the whole, like it's a little bit more run and gun that way, which is nice. But then you're relying on this monitor, which is horrible. All in all, as far as a camera goes though, I have absolutely loved shooting on this thing. One of the things I love doing is shooting interviews, and if you're mastering at 1080, you can shoot, you know, somewhat wide interview and then punch in for a close-up. Because this sensor and this camera is so sharp, actually punching in doesn't look half bad. It doesn't look terrible. When I did that with the Red Scarlet, it looked awful. It just wasn't nearly as sharp as this camera is. So I would highly recommend this camera for like corporate type videos, low budget filmmaking, stuff like that. It's just fantastic. Way better than a DSLR. You got global shutter, you got 4K, you got beautiful images. Also, the global shutter is like, it's really impressive. The thing I find annoying about this camera is where they put the f-stops. If you have like, to do your f-stops down here, you have to do it back here. I find it super annoying because if you're on a Movi, the buttons get really hidden, or sometimes you have to push this thing all the way back to the back, or a Ronin, and you can't reach those buttons to change it. So I would highly recommend getting a lens with a declicked aperture or a cine lens of some sort. Because being able to adjust your aperture from the front of the lens it's awesome. It's totally worth every dollar you spend because especially if you're using this camera, it's so annoying to try and change the settings back there. Yeah, but that's it for this camera. This is the camera I've shot the most with over the last year and a half, 2 years. Fantastic camera, gives you gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful highlight runoff. It's just a great camera. So highly recommend it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it wasn't, let me know and I won't do anything about it. Also, be sure to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to review, and I'll be sure to do that. Thanks, guys.